Well, is the player exodus beginning? Yes, everybody watching the West Ham Network, hope you're safe and well. Good afternoon or good lunchtime, West Ham fans. I know you were waiting for that. Hope you are all well. Happy Friday. Another week done. Congratulations. And I don't know if you saw Anton's video this morning talking about another manager. We've been linked to the head coach job in terms of Vincent Company. X came out. It didn't come out. X mentioned him as another potential name to add to the list. So I think we're probably about 20 now, 21, something like that. And if you go back and check out my list yesterday, I went through about 19, 20 of the names we've been linked with, all the way from Jose Mourinho to Sebastian Huisman to Alexandra Blessing to Michael Carrick and Graham Potter and everyone in between. Going through, plus and minuses. I think everyone has a plus and minus. Now, obviously, we still don't know what's happening. We know we allude to the fact that we think might be happening, but no official announcement has been made about who's going to be in the dugout next year, and that's having a detrimental effect in terms of the existing players. Now, according to several sources, we know that someone that like Lucas Paqueta is likely to be leaving when his release clause is activated in the summer. And it does, as I said, mentioned, I think it's not just a straight, win for Man City in that respect. Looks like Man United, PSG, and Juventus. At those four, at least, will be wanting to compete for Lucas's signature. But we're also revealed, and we spoke about it earlier this week, that Now Figuered has recently changed representation in terms of his agencies in a hope to get a move away from West Ham in the summer. It does seem that the Saudi Pro League is a potential destination. Also, Ligue 1 would be another destination, having spent the majority of his time playing in the French league. And obviously, we bought him from Rennes a couple of years ago. Now, it appears this dilly-dallying also is having an effect with the academy as well. So we're coming up to a situation now where we'll be getting the release lists, or we'll start be understanding who's going to be released, who's going to be signing new contracts, who's going to be offered pro deals, that type of thing. We've had a few already. Callum Marshall signed his pro deal before going on loan to West Brom, which didn't really work. We know that the likes of Josh Briggs has signed his first pro deal. Ezra Mayes has signed a pro deal. Junior Robinson signed another 2.5-year deal as well. And there's going to be plenty more of these sort of contract news coming up. We'll be talking to that in the academy shows as and when we get the information through. But apparently, we've been led to believe that academy players particularly, are refusing to sign new contracts until the David Moyes situation is resolved. It makes perfect sense. Why sign a deal for a player, in terms of eventually progressing, particularly for the 21s, I'd say, into the first team, if you don't know who the manager is or who the head coach is going to be? That's a pound for the food banks. And apparently there's been a widespread sort of frustration amongst the academy players in the fact that they seem to be all called up to the matchday squads to only really sit on the bench. Really, the only one who's sort of broken through in the last sort of few games was George Earthy, until obviously the concussion incident, where we might see him back for the tail end of the season potentially, after all the protocols have been met. And we're going to be a bit above beyond to make sure everything's okay. So we've been led to believe that the players involved in these negotiations have told their agencies, their representatives, that they will not accept any new terms, any new deals until David Moyes has left the club, because of this frustration that they're being called up and not being utilised. Now, we know, and we've spoken about this before, that the club have been mediating this issue internally. We know that Tim and Nobes have been having meetings with the players' representatives, with the players themselves, and the players' families to appease any disharmony, particularly as a lot of the players' representatives are their families anyway. So the idea being is, I think we mentioned this a couple of months ago, that meetings were put in place with the academy people coming to the end of their contracts, and the representatives, the families, and Tim and Mark to assure them in terms of the pathway. Obviously, Mark's spoken quite candidly, knows about the pathway into the first team, and we would assume that the new head coach that comes in will have KPIs, and one of them will be incorporating the academy as and when appropriate. Not just the worst thing I want to do is fill the side full of the academy and they're not ready. But the ones that are ready play, or the ones that are already are around the first team squad and will make appearances. As we know, the next contract, the next person in the dugout next year, regardless if it's David Moyes, regardless if it's Blessing or Amorim or Potter or Will Steele or Carrick or whoever it could be, or even another name, will be a head coach, not a manager. And this is a point I keep making, and people go, "Oh, it's just semantics." It's not. A manager looks after the whole club from top to bottom. A manager, when I look at it, think someone like Big Sam, someone like Pards, someone like Moyes. They want full control. I mean, Moyes at the moment still has or had veto on any transfers coming in. So his boss is coming with names, in essence, in terms of Tim Steindon, and he's refusing those names, if we're led to believe he did. That's not how you run a business, really. The boss is the decision, is his decision. So the idea is the head coach, it's in the name of the title, is a coach, and he will coach the first team. Now, it's not saying he's totally detached away from recruitment, totally detached away from anything else, but the idea being is it's part of a team. Tim is the head coach will report to Tim Snyder, and as part of that head coach contract, very similar to what we have in continental Europe, the likes of look at the Bundesliga, look at how Bayern Munich were able to relieve Thomas Tuchel of his duties next year in a very professional way. So it's almost like he's on his notice period at the moment, which is like a proper job. Although ironically, with Bayern Munich, they are looking to appoint Ralf Rangnick as their next coach, and there is a petition amongst the Bayern Munich fans to try and reinstate Thomas Tuchel, because they'd rather have Tuchel than Ralf Rangnick. So it's the best of both, one or the other, and that's the type of contract which will be signed. So they'll be having another KPIs. Thomas Tuchel obviously didn't hit those KPIs this year and was therefore dismissed with very little payout, or indeed no payout at all. I'm not too sure how that works, but in the same way as a proper job, if you don't do your job, you're out. You have a probational period, you have KPIs you have to hit, and then if you don't do it, you're out. One of those KPIs, I imagine, will be integrating the academy into the first team squad. And again, there might be certain things. Maybe the fact is we've got at the moment mostly some of the academies is training with the first team, but the majority are training Little Heath, Chadwell Heath. So you're thinking might make sense to bring them over, maybe. I'm sure that's part and parcel of the pathway, that as part and parcel of a new head coach coming in, there'll be a look at all that. I know there's a lot of building work happening at Rush Green at the moment. We know we're looking at potentially going elsewhere, maybe even Basildon, in terms of a proper training facility, potentially bringing in all the academy under one roof, which I think would make sense, but we shall see. But I just thought it was interesting how, all this dilly-dallying Now, in terms of recruitment coming in, again, it's the same thing. You know, we had a bid for apparently for Wesley, the 19-year-old Corinthians winger. That's been rejected by Corinthians. I imagine we would go back for another deal because he could be a generational star potentially. And even if you've got him for 15, 16 million pound, I think you still make a hell of a profit on him eventually. But no doubt, I mean, the only sort of slight, although, you know, we were sort of the assumption is that we know what's going to happen. I think the only one who probably really knows that, actually, I don't think they know it. Yes, I'd love everything to be lined up and on the, you know, a suit, and then it'll be bosh. This is happening. This is happening. Ta-da! And we know everything, but we know that's not going to happen for West Ham. It hasn't happened in my lifetime at West Ham where something's gone that smoothly. So why am I assuming that it's going to happen again? I don't think it will. I think we're going to get more links to play at managers, or in terms of taking on that head coach role. I think we're going to get in the next 2 to 3 weeks. You know, if Moyes wins on Saturday, what happens then? Do you know what I mean? It's like that we've been led to believe that if he's got I think it's 7 points. He's got his sort of 4-game season now, and he has to achieve at least 7 points to have a hope of having a contract renewed at West Ham. And even that contract will be different. I think Moyes spoke about a long time ago, having a contract on the table. Now, again, I think and that was poo-pooed by a lot of people. I think there was, in principle, some sort of contract on the table, but it was this head coach contract, which reduces his power and concentrates just him on the first team with these KPIs in place. And I don't think he wanted to sign that deal. I think it was probably like a 2-year deal, and he wanted a 5-year deal, or he wanted something long term. But that's not how these continental contracts work. They're on a very short lease, a very short contract, and I think he was genuinely hoping that we would either win the Europa League or qualify for Europe via the league for a 4th successive season, which would give him that extra negotiating power to go back and say, look, I do know what I'm doing. I've done it. We've done 40. We haven't qualified for Europe before me for, I don't know, well, since the Intertoto Cup in 1999, really. And now we've done it 4 years in a row. I know what I'm doing. But I just don't think, realistically, he will do that. We might squeeze in. Again, I spoke about it yesterday. We had a situation now where, Brighton lost 4-0 yesterday against City at home. It really, for once, all of the other results have gone our way, really. But if we don't get a victory tomorrow against Liverpool, that's done. Yes, we have to play Chelsea. Yes, there's still 9 points left after that to play for. But in all reality, the City game, you take off anyway. Even if they won the title by then, they want to go out in style. There'll be a guard of honour potentially by West Ham as well if it's that last game of the season. They've already won the title by then. And yeah, just can't see that happening, really. So in theory, we've got 3 games left, 2 home, 1 away. Liverpool, it says on the ticker there, Liverpool, Chelsea and Luton. Those are our 3 games. And realistically, if you want 7 points, those are the 7. They have to get the 7 points in those games. I can't see it happening. But we never know. Stranger things have happened at sea. But dilly-dallying is not helping the club at all. It's not helping, not now, but it's not helping the club in the next year, 2 years, 3 years time, because we will have an exodus. Look, this is I've highlighted, this is the squad as it stands, the first team squad. I'm not including any of the academy players coming in. Everyone in yellow is coming to the end of their contracts. So, goalkeeper wise, we assume that Fabianski is going to get a new deal. We don't know about Nathan Trott. He's out on loan at Vej Blondklub in Denmark. Joseph Nang. We've also got, at the moment, in terms of replacements, Christian Heggie, Jacob Knightbridge, Mason Terry's at Concord Rangers, and just one player of the season there. We've got the negotiations with Ben Johnson, which don't seem to be happening. Aaron Cresswell's out of contract. Vladimir Sufal, technically out of contract, although we have apparently put a 1 year sort of activation as part and parcel of what we've got, but he wants more. Angelo Bonner, he's coming to the end of his contract this summer. Tilo Kehrer, we know he's on loan at Monaco and is basically hit all his criteria in terms of making that permanent, so he'll be gone. Lucas Paqueta, we know he's got his release clauses coming in. Flynn Downs, obviously on loan at Southampton, having a great time there. I think if Southampton get promoted, I think he stays there, to be honest, but you never know. Obviously, he was in attendance for the Bayer Leverkusen game, being a West Ham fan, but also Leverkusen had the likes of Nathan Teller, sort of Southampton players, so there's a number of Southampton players there. Saïd Benrahma, we know, is on loan at Lyon. Not having a great time there, and hasn't set the world alight. He could well come back, maybe. And then we've got negotiations with Divine Mbahl, which I think have hit an impasse now. So he'll be gone. So you could have, in a worst case scenario, again, this won't happen because some will get offered new deals. So everyone out of contract, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players out of contract, plus Tilo Kehrer's 9, plus Saïd Benrahma 10, Paqueta 11, Flynn down 12. And that's before you look at the likes of Nafaged, before you look at the likes of maybe Zuma being moved on, before you see the likes of someone like Kudus being moved on, before you see someone like, why's that happen? That's better. Someone like Kudus being moved on. If, bids for Kudus, bids for Bowen, Antonio, Danny Ings, we could have a, so we got to get a fucking move on, guys. Because otherwise, I'm going to be turning out for the first team, I think, by the sounds of it, come August. Yes, I can offer something something different in the final third, but I'd probably prefer Jarrod Bowen than me, to be honest, up front. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Fascinated about it already, actually, because for the past 3 years, we've probably said this summer is going to be pivotal for West Ham, but this summer is pivotal for West Ham as well. And I'm just a bit. Well, I'm very apprehensive about it. I'm very worried about this summer. In a weird way, there's plus and minuses for qualifying for Europe again. Qualifying for Europe, we get more money because naturally we enter into the the group stages. Actually, we wouldn't. We'd have to qualify for the conference. I think we would in the same way we did last year against Viborg. But actually, I don't know if you would because it's a new system. Anyway, regardless of that. For me, it's like, yes, and there is the glamour of being in Europe in terms of attracting new players. Indeed, for the head coach, it will make it a more attractive proposition coming in. From the club perspective, more money, more so they can spend more, that type of thing. Detrimental effect is we know that our squad is going to be threadbare unless we start offering new deals. But then again, by offering new deals, we've already got the second oldest squad in the Premier League. If we offer new deals to Ogbonna, Cresswell, that's just compounding that even further. Where I think you've got young players coming in, who academy players could come in. Also, we do have to look at the homegrown quota, the academy quota as well. And we know the pressure on Europe in terms of a squad. Now, we didn't feel it as much last year. We almost had two sides, really. And the conference, in all honesty, wasn't as intensive as the Europa League, which is nice. It's the third conference, third sort of European competition. So I see both sides. Some people say, a year out of Europe might help us. It might do. It might mean we can just concentrate on getting a Premier League squad ready. And then hopefully a decent Premier League season without the distractions of Europe to get us back into Europe for the 25-26 season. And therefore having a situation where next summer we can build that European squad. Don't know. Anyway, We're back with Dave Moyes' press conference later on ahead of the Liverpool game. Enjoy that. Take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, my friends. And come on, you bloody Irons.